Well, hey, welcome everybody to another Tech Tip Tuesday. Here we are at Cinco de Mayo, right? The 5th of May, everybody. A fun little celebration day. And we were just talking back there backstage about Henry and I about what is Cinco de Mayo? Where does that come from? What's the celebration all about? What are we partying for? I don't think people really need a big reason to party, but sometimes it's fun to know Cinco de Mayo. But it is a holiday celebrating a victory. In the past, right, Henry?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the
Awesome.
Mexican army against the French forces in
There we go.
1862.
There we go. Well, this is the Cinco de Mayo. This is the Tech Tip Tuesday, the victory over technical problems and issues, right? We're gonna have that kind of a victory today. So my name's Ken Close. I am engineer, electronics engineer by trade, lover of Healy, and now consumer of its frequencies on a daily basis for quite some time. And I love the opportunity to be able to help you guys understand this technology a little bit deeper. This is a chat-based platform. And I get the opportunity to be joined by my awesome co-host, Henry Pena. He's the head of onboarding for Healy. Hey, Henry, welcome, welcome.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
And Jake is probably going to join us here shortly. Maybe he's in
Hey,
the
Will.
background getting ready to join in. We'll welcome him in as soon as he gets here. But for now, what I'd like to do is just tell you guys what we're doing. All right. So Tech Tip Tuesday is all about you. You guys put the content into the chat, and then Henry and myself and Jake when he's here, and even the audience sometimes. Then we will solve the problems, answer the questions, deep dive into the theories, technology, the science, as much information as we can provide to give you value. What we can't do is we can't treat, diagnose, prevent, or talk about any diseases, specific conditions such as that, because we're not medical experts. No, we're technical geeks and we love to play with the technology and understand it deeper and help you guys understand it as well. So we can refer you to places that have content around, a specific word that you can search, but we can't talk about it here directly. Here's Jake. Welcome, Jake. How are you?
I am here. Hello, everyone.
Excellent, excellent. Let's see. I'll make you also a co-host. Right. Let's see. Confirm. There we go. You're
All right.
spotlighted, so now you're in the middle of the screen.
Oh, thank you.
There he
Thank
is.
you.
Welcome, welcome. Like I told you, folks, audience, Jake is on his way. So here we are. And this is Jake Barron, head of ops for the global operations of
Mhm.
Healy in hanging out there in Orlando, Florida. Hi, Jake. Welcome in.
Hello. Great to be here, even if it's a few minutes late. So,
Hey, well, like we always like to say, better late than never. I use that one a lot. So, especially these days when I tend to be in the middle of a project and I'm like, dang, I can't put the paintbrush away just yet. I'm
yeah.
almost there. And I'm
Yeah.
late for dinner. Anyway, so we already went through what Tech Tip Tuesday is all about, what we can
Mhm.
do, what we can't do. And I just want to welcome you, audience, here. And so go ahead and flood that chat and let's get this party started. We already do have a question. Let's see. It says, do individual or do identical frequencies cancel each other out? So this is a great question because when we're talking about identical frequencies, there's in the laws of physics, there is a concepts called convergent interference and or destructive interference and constructive interference. So constructive and destructive interference. What does that mean? That means when you have information, you have signaling, you have um, some sort of frequency of like and kind, they amplify each other. Okay, so you would have to have a frequency that is essentially opposite or a waveform opposite in opposite pattern to a frequency to nullify it. So ones that are coherent amplify, ones that are incoherent nullify. And this is a great way that to understand how Healy works because when we're trying to heal something, fix something. I don't like the word healing. Just align something. I like the word healing, but we're not going to use it here. align something, when we're trying to align something, when we're coherent with the positive effect and incoherent with the negative effect, we're kind of doing a twofer, right? So in other words, we're modifying or amplifying the effects of alignment, and we're down regulating and nullifying the effects of the condition. So these are where we could have identical frequencies for increasing the energy in the body, and then opposite frequencies uh, for compressing or decreasing the energy of whatever we're trying to get rid of. So it doesn't matter what the condition is, the body, the biology, the biological organism at the cell level has a vibration. Every cell in your body has a vibration, right? It's the somewhat skeletal structure of a cell is called the microtubules, and it actually has a vibratory state, and it can be amplified, or I should say, it can be modified by signal, and it can be amplified in that modification or nullified, and so that either way increases the vitality of the cell or decreases it. And so that's where Healy comes in with frequency. It can speak globally to the body. It can speak individually to the cell. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Guys, you want to add anything to that?
I think the only other thing would be to consider the medium of the wave, the frequency, because that would also change the interaction on, because I know Maria was talking specifically about tinnitus, and I know that usually has to do with the way sound is perceived. So I guess that, the frequency can have a different effect depending on the medium, which is why, we have things like the Healy coil and the MagHealy that uses an electromagnetic field, and we have things like microcurrent when you use the cables, and then you have something completely different, which is when we're actually talking about sounds, which is when these frequencies interact with the air, and then it actually creates a sound. So that will also play a role there, Maria, depending when you're saying, when you say that when you find the right frequency that could get rid of it, it would be a matter of, because the frequency could be the exact same one. You could have the exact same frequency in hertz, but the way that it will interact with you will change depending on the medium. Whether in this case, if we're talking about Healy, microcurrent, an electromagnetic field, sound, through solid materials, etc. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I like the idea to understand when we're talking about a certain condition, especially one around what you hear in your ears, the ringing sounds, those conditions. Um, Science is not, there's some interesting information coming out around the source of this inner ringing, not necessarily being a generation from the ear components itself, but an interpretation from the brain, or actually a signaling to the brain, right? An incorrect signaling, or even one that is there's talk around the signaling being interfered with from contaminants, toxins, parasites, things like that, though, that are burdening the biology of our body. This is a big one, and I want to address this for a second because when it comes to toxic burden, or when it comes to signaling the body. You have a friend that's saying, "Hey, you're an awesome person. I love you. You're so great. I love everything you're doing." That's a signal, right? And you feel something based on that signal. That's an auditory signal. You hear it, your mind interprets the content, you assign meaning to it, you feel great. Let's say that it's someone that's not so much so friendly and is giving you insults and negative verbal feedback. Same mechanism for receiving the signal, right? As in the ear canal, the brain assigning meaning to that content. Still words in your language that you understand, but you're assigning meaning to it. Two different meanings, creating two different biological effects, two different emotional states, and that is also another signal. The state that we are in is another signal to our biology. Even though we think, okay, wait a minute, I'm in a state, that's my biology, that's me having this moment. And the truth is, the biology, each cell is their own little community, right? Their own little life. They've got their own digestive system, their own brain, their own circulatory system. Each cell is their own intelligence. And so we have a community of intelligence here in this biological suit, this organic suit, I call it. And if you've ever been to, say, a staff meeting or a board meeting, and you're trying to get a group of 10 or 5 or 7 or even 2 to agree on something, right? You're trying to have a vote, you're trying to get everybody get on board with this, right? And there's arguments and there's concepts, there's perceptions, there's beliefs, there's all this stuff. And it seems that nobody's on the same page. Well, think of 100 trillion cells in your body on the same page. Right? These are all little individual organisms, all on their own, but yet on the same page as you. And when I say the you, that's the you that's having an emotion right now. That's the you that's having a thought right now. That's the you that's perceiving your environment with what you see, what you smell, what you taste, what you hear. That's the you sending signals to that community. And they're all getting on board with that. And if the signals are, I'm I'm angry, right? Or I don't like the smell, or it's too cold in here, right? These are kind of negative inputs. And the signal you're giving biology is all of them saying, okay, I'm on board with negativity. I'm on board with lack. I'm on board with upset. I'm on board with this, whatever the this is. So I want you guys to understand that because that's another signaling mechanism that's probably, well, not probably, can negate, nullify, and be incoherent with anything positive that you're doing, right? It can do that. So, so thank you for being here, you guys, and great question, Maria. Um, so we're getting some more comments in the chat there saying that there's time waiver therapists out there that talk about sound, and then even the sound of silence, which is a comment in the chat here. When we sit in silence, well, let's go there for a second. If you sit in silence, there really probably isn't silence. There may be a voice, maybe information swirling around in the mind. So sitting with that, being aware of that, that inner sound, um, can be an annoyance or it can be nothing.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with attention, which has been shown that similar with pain, if you're stressed out or if you're annoyed or if you're in any sort of state that your cognitive ability becomes affected negatively, your ability to focus on things that are painful, it usually, that's usually what's going to happen. So in this case, if it's just like Ken said, like I was not paying attention when he said the sound of silence. I wasn't paying attention to the sound of the silence of the room where I'm currently in. But the moment I pay attention to it, I realize, oh, there is a sound to it. And I feel like to a degree, tinnitus is that, right? So it's you pay attention to a sound that the brain is basically trying to fill in the blanks because it cannot perceive them very well, so it kind of makes up its own interpretation. And then it comes down to your ability to choose whether or not you pay attention to that sound, because there are sounds, it's like the same thing. It's like I've met people who they cannot hear birds singing because they find them annoying. They cannot hear people maybe speaking loudly. They become annoyed by loud noises. And I've been in situations like sometimes I meditate and I hear there are people really close to me talking loudly, and eventually my brain just kind of like forgets that that's even there. So to a certain degree, it does depend on your ability to disregard the annoyance that may be coming from that noise to the point where it just fades away completely. And that is something that's huge, and I'm sure there's research and information about that when it comes to this particular condition.
There is a saying where we place our attention is where we place our energy. As Henry said, when you place your attention on pain, as I mentioned before, there is constructive interference and destructive interference. Constructive interference means that wherever you're placing your attention, you're constructing and amplifying whatever it is you're attending to, where your eyes are seeing, what your ears are hearing, what your taste buds are, all your senses, all those perceptive tools you have. They are designed to enhance an experience. And so if you place your attention on your pain, you're enhancing the experience, right? It's increasing. And there's our system is designed when some trauma happens to our body, our system is designed to build a model around protecting us from it. And it will, if between 90 seconds and 2 minutes, the nervous system down regulates the signal. Down regulates the signal. So pain. This is why initially the first time you smash your finger with a hammer, it's really painful for at first, but it starts to down regulate pretty quickly, right? Because the nervous system is first of all bringing your attention to the trauma. Secondly, then backing it off so that it can start to heal, and you, as a consciousness, can stop freaking out. Right? You need to start. You smack yourself with a hammer. Okay, great. You hurt yourself, but now you need to get smart and wise. What do I do next? And you can't have all of your brain power held hostage by the attention on the pain. So the pain starts to downregulate. The nervous system does this automatically, downregulate the pain, and then you can start cognitively reasoning, what do I do next? Put ice on it, tend it if it's bleeding, whatever. Does that make sense? So same thing with any kind of ringing in the ears, pain in the foot, whatever it is, the more attention you place on it, the more energy you're feeding it. There is some other studies that are talking about how, like I mentioned, there's parasites in toxic burden that increase that, and by doing certain detoxes, you can downregulate some of those signaling. So, and Healy's got programs for release, right? These are some of these programs built right into the basic model for, releasing and allowing and getting rid of whatever's not serving you. Okay. Let's see. Here's something on the coaching module. Henry, you want to see some about, okay. In the coaching module, while creating a custom entry, there is a field called background information. What's the purpose of this option and how is it to be used? Do you want to address that one?
Yeah,
Or do you?
absolutely. So the something to keep in mind is that these apps actually do give you a lot of information when it comes to these things. They usually have like little information buttons, and there's one for that one in particular. So that will basically be just additional information that you cannot add in the desired state. So the desired state is basically, or your focus statement, actually. Your focus statement would be whatever affirmation, whatever goal that you have. Anything else that is additional, because normally in the focus statement, since it's at the very top, you kind of want to keep it short and you want to write it in the same way that you would write an affirmation in present tense, like it's already happening to you. Also, you usually start with like a nice statement usually. Um, but usually you want to keep it short because the more background you start putting there, you kind of start losing focus. So any additional information you want to add, you normally would add it to that section that says background information. And as I said, there will be a little button if you go to the add entry section, there's going to be an information button next to each text field that it's going to give you details as to what that text field is for, including that one for background information. And then I saw that the other question was about the potencies, about when you do an entry, a custom entry, you can manually enter your potency. And yes, you will need to enter whatever potency you think would be best. Let me remind everybody that potencies, the model that we use is based on something known as creative homeopathy, created by Anthony Pepler. You're more than welcome to do your own research, to come up with your own interpretation. We do have videos on the Healy Academy on the interpretation of parameters. That's, I believe, under the coaching module section that will go over this. But I will tell you, it's not super specific. Like, it will not go on in the details of what maybe the Roman numerals mean or what specific values may represent. It does go over what DC and LM potencies are. But yes, so at that point, if there's a particular potency, or if you're familiar with potencies and you have your own interpretation from homeopathy and you want to experiment with that, you are welcome to do that. just remember that at the end of the day, it all comes down to your own interpretation, and it really all comes down to, does this make sense to you or not? Does it create feelings on you or not? Does it inspire you to become a better person or not? The details that you put in the app won't really make that much of a difference if you are not really in touch with whatever it is that's happening, and it really doesn't make that much sense to you. So really just follow your gut and go based on that.
Yeah, one of the things I always like to coach any of my clients around it is whatever state you're in is because of what you believe, what you know, what you perceive, what you understand, all of that. And so Healy is an objective observer. It doesn't, it's all information. It doesn't care about anything other than the information. And it takes you and builds you as an information packet, right? When you're doing an analysis, you put you in as a client. Now you are just information, right? Literally to the system, you're just information. And the databases that you're usually using to align yourself with are also just information. And then Healy builds the bridge between the proper information and the proper version of you. Okay. When we start putting our 2 cents worth in, now we're subjective. We're not letting the objective content, the objective observer, the non-judgmental format to do its work in its entirety. We're no matter how and you guys are brilliant. Everyone has their own brilliance. Everyone is a genius, in my opinion. And within your genius, you are the bomb. But we're not individually a genius within all areas of everything. We're not the infinite intelligence. We're part of it, but we're not it. So when we allow the infinite intelligence to do its work, that means we step aside. And I constantly coach my clients, step aside. I ask them one question. What are you willing to surrender to gain? Because the truth is, at this point in our lives, whatever we're trying to do, we've gained a lot of information, a lot of knowledge, and that has created biology. Is your biology in homeostasis or is it not? If it's not, then we need to get out of the way. We need to allow something that is in a bigger information field to do some work for us, right? The objective observer from an objective perspective and let that do its work. And I always say, do the experiment. Do it as a minimalist, as a basic bare minimums. Here's what I want. Here's how I want to feel. Help me get there. And see what comes up, right? That's the simplicity of it because it's the tool you're trying to use. We don't take a hammer and say, well, let me hit the nail first and then smack it with the hammer. We don't do that. We take the hammer, we hit the nail. We use the hammer, the tool, for what it's made to do in its entirety. Sometimes we use it for other stuff. I've used my my hammer handle to mix paint once. It's not necessarily for that. It was really dirty and I had to wipe it off, but that's all I had. The point is, we want to use the tool for what it's made for, right? Okay. So Marjorie's asking about how do scientists determine the optimum frequency for each organ? This is a great question. So we have so much science, right? This has been a study since the beginning of time. We looked at frequency in the waves of light, and we looked at frequencies in the waves of sound. And so people were like, what is that? And it has been an ongoing study forever. And so it's been proven over and over again what a frequency of one particular cell is, right? An organ, a heart, a lung, liver, pancreas, whatever. There's a frequency for those. And whether it's male, female, there's frequencies there. Whether it's older or younger, there's frequencies there. Right? But they're still within the bandwidth of a pancreas. You don't take frequencies of the cell structures within, well, and let me put it this way. There's also a frequency for the purpose of the pancreas, right? Not just the cells, but what it does. So how do they determine that? that's been studies for centuries. Any guys want to elaborate on how those frequencies were derived?
Well, I think something to keep in mind too is that like there is not as like specific frequent like there are constantly frequencies just happening throughout our bodies constantly. Like I mean, we're talking about insane of speeds that are happening on a subatomic level and also on an atomic level. So there really isn't a like one frequency that will work just good with just one specific organ. It's usually a collection of frequencies usually, and it all comes down to resonance and also experimentation. I mean, some things will work, some things will not work. So it also comes down to, again, you can have the resonance of, how is this particular organ or body reacting to this on a vibrational level, and that's what I mean by resonance. But then there's also just the observable evidence of, is it getting better or is it getting worse? So that's usually part of it too. I
You're
think the
muted,
only
Jake.
thing that we're missing answering
Jake,
is the.
you're muted. Jake was going to say something. He was
No,
Oh,
yeah,
okay, got it.
I was gonna say, like you had already mentioned, Ken, some of this stuff is known just from hundreds and hundreds of years, dating back to a long, long time ago. Others through precise measurements, other of it's through the experience. Our parent company, Time Waver, there's many, many years of experiments in actual, sort of a medical setting, therapist setting as well too, of what works and what doesn't there too. So it's a combination of everything really, and we of course partner with a lot of different experts in their fields as well, too, to kind of get their knowledge and insights into what works best for whether it's a specific area of the body or just overall general, well-being or protection or recovery or those types of things as well too. So there's, I guess, not one simple way how it's determined. It's a combination of a lot of learnings and experience as well.
I agree. As I mentioned earlier, and what to Henry's point too, resonance. This is why that's is built into Healy, is to do an analysis initially. The first part of even the pink dot is kind of feeling the person out, right? Not the client, just whatever Healy's hooked to, right? It's hooked to you, so now it's looking at the resonance. It's running current flow through your body, and it's determining a resonance of that body for the purpose of that program. And then it's selecting very specific frequencies in that moment. As Henry said, it changes all the time. So today, if I ran this program, right, and then tomorrow I run the same program, I may not get the same frequencies. I probably won't because I'm not the same exact biology as I was yesterday. And so it's going to adapt, and that's important. There's still a boundary, a bandwidth for the purpose of the program. The program has a purpose, and within that purpose of the program, there's a bandwidth of frequencies it's going to use. And then it's going to find you and the resonance with you to narrow that bandwidth down to the exact. Okay. So, resonance is one of those automatic ways of finding or tuning into the organism. It's a fabulous way, a brilliant way, and Healy uses that way, right? So so we're learning all the time. As Jake said, we're learning all the time, and Time Waver has done the heavy lifting for the studies for so long.
Yeah.
And so much information that they've collected in the thousands and thousands of clients and the thousands of practitioners. And that database is like the holy grail, right? Aside from taking other experts and bringing them in. And, Marcus does talks and has a university that he is working with experts all the time. So, just as if, say, you're I don't know, a tennis player. If you're in the field of tennis every day, all year, right? Different environments, different people, different experts, you're going to be really good at tennis, right? And you're going to have a lot of information in your database. And so when it comes to frequency, when it comes to information technology in this field, Healy's an expert because of Marcus and the associations and the scientists that he works with. So,
But before we go here, I think I'm not sure I came to the meeting a little bit late, but this first question, at least on my screen, was related to Marjorie and her husband wanting to go on vacation to Germany. So are there plans for any event at Healy headquarters? So that's a great question. Of course, everyone wants to kind of go see where all the magic happens for Healy too. But when we're talking Germany, there's actually 3 different locations in Germany that are tied to Healy. Our biggest office in Germany is actually now currently in Berlin region there too, right in the downtown area. And then we also have another office in the Mainz area of Germany. And then, of course, when we refer to Marcus and the castle and that kind of thing too, we're referring to Kranzlin separately also. And there's not currently any events planned like at the actual physical locations of these offices too, but there are always events going on in person in Germany, just not necessarily at the different like Healy headquarters locations too. So if we talk a lot about our Healy Americas events calendar. You go to HealyAmericasEvents.com, but there's also actually, maybe not everyone knew, there's a Healy EMEA events.com page, which is all the events throughout the European region. And you'll see there's a product launch events for our new 0 Hertz product line coming up here on May 16th in Munich. So again, these types of events and everything are listed on these different events websites. And there's actually also a Healy APAC events.com page as well. So we have Healy Americas events.com, Healy EMEA events.com, and Healy APAC events.com all have similar updates there as far as ongoing trainings, in-person meetings, online meetings, that kind of thing too. And then coming up next week, again, we do Tech Tip Tuesday the first and third Tuesdays of every month now going forward. But next Tuesday, we actually have our next episode of the Healy Solution series, which is a very popular series going on. And this one, next one coming up is actually on work-life balance. So great topic here. So tune in at 7:30 Eastern next Tuesday, May 12th. And then we'll see you the following Tuesday, May 19th.
I love it. So there you go. I'm always one of those kind of folks that will, if I know where something's happening, maybe just show up and knock on the door. I don't know. I'm just, hey, what's going on here, Healy?
There was a question about, will we send an email about Healy Solution Series? I don't remember if I know we always post it on our Telegram page and our WhatsApp groups, text message usually as well. I don't know if there was a specific email reminder about it too, but you can, you don't need to register for this meeting. You can just copy the link from the Healy Americas events page and send it to somebody too. And they can just join right away, whenever they're available on anytime 7:30 Eastern or after.
Yeah, lock down that events page and keep that somewhere in your favorites, because that's the best one. It's usually got all the things on it for Americas anyway. All right, guys. Well, hey, and if you want to copy that chat, because Jake put that link in there, you can, at the top of the page up there where it says Healy Tech Tip Tuesday, there's 3 little dots. Click on those 3 little dots. A drop-down menu pops up and allows you to copy the chat. At the end of this call, you'll get a pop-up on your screen if you're on your laptop or on your PC or Mac, and you'll be able to save that. Okay? Hopefully that helps. Click the 3 dots, guys. Meanwhile, join in the Healy Solutions next week, and us again in 2 weeks. Until then, have an amazing rest of your week. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye, everybody. See you.
Thanks for being here, you guys.